Geico presents Our Town, Season 4, a 30-minute podcast produced by Best Bark Communications, a small but fierce client-centered marketing company powered by decades of experience and well-established business networks. Geico, 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance. Now, here's your host, Andy Ockershausen.
This is Andy Ockershausen. This is Our Town, and unfortunately, this is the last of our Season 4 Our Town. We'll be starting Season 5 sometime in this late summer, early fall. But this has been a wonderful, wonderful ride for us, especially since Janice has been in charge of the whole program. But to have Liz Bubitz take over and work with us as sort of our finding producer, it's just been a great, great season. And I'm so glad that we're the three of us and the four of us with our extraordinary producer, Ken.
Can't forget me, that's right.
No, Ken, we've been trying to forget you, but it still works. But Lizzie, thank you for being here. And Janny, you're the best, honey.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is we wanted to do a season wrap-up. And during this wrap-up, we want to just give our impressions, all of us, Liz, Andy, Ken, and I, about what was meaningful and what we learned in this season, Season 4. So I just wanted to start with Liz because she had a great impression.
What impressed you, Liz, in Season 4?
Well, as a millennial and for someone who, had never heard of the vast majority of these people but learned way more than I thought. And I think that the highlight of Our Town for me was having Monique Samuels on and getting on the Real Housewives of Potomac, Andy. That was definitely a thrill. Getting all the cameras set up and getting mic'd up and just being their celebrity was...
For all of us to be on Bravo was a big hit. That's
I
amazing.
can't wait for that episode to come out.
I remember that day because they brought their camera crew and they took over the studios, both studios.
We had to get a bigger studio just for Monique Samuels.
And her part.
And her 9 producers that flocked along with her.
And the amazing thing about Monique, she's not the biggest celebrity. You would think so because of Bravo, but her husband is a much bigger celebrity.
Chris,
but nevertheless... She was so great and great to have. And Janny, who impressed you in the beginning of this thing?
A couple of the people that stand out because we're in the broadcast business and they're friends. But I remember Steve Buckhantz. I listen to Steve occasionally when he's doing the Wizards games, but what was most impressive was his personal journey. The journey he went from town to town as he was developing.
I agree. He's a very inspiring person.
Yes.
He worked to get where he's at.
He certainly did.
And now he kills it in what he does.
But he's a good storyteller.
Yeah.
So when you hear the clips of him talking about the Wizards game or whatever, it's play-by-play, that's something else. But he as an individual storyteller was excellent. Right. Al Koken was another example. Hard-working guy.
St. Louis.
Yeah, worked his way to Washington. He's got a great role now, and very impressive.
The Caps and their Stanley Cup. I mean, he was a
big
success.
year for him.
Hey, you guys forgot the clergy. Remember we had Father Sal?
Love Father Sal.
Is the chaplain for the D.C. Fire and Police Department. But the fire now has their own chapel, so he's a chaplain for the police department, Father Sal, and his motorcycle.
Right. His Harley Davidson. That was a fun episode.
Well, didn't we have a lot of fun with some of our athletes? Nobody was better prepared than Fred Smoot.
Yeah.
Because Fred Smoot was himself. As long as he was himself, he couldn't fail. Yeah, he's an astronomer.
Yeah.
And I urged him to stick to do that. That's a great, great thing to have that ability and something to transition from football. I also want to remark on WTOP. It was so great.
Yeah, that was an interesting session. Yeah.
As a leading broadcast company in the greater Washington area, to open up their studios to us, to allow their performers to be on Our Town.
We had Hillary Howard, Neil Augenstein, and Dave McConnell. These are big
Dave
names.
McConnell blew me away. I mean...
And WTOP, to me, that was as big as Kathy Hughes opening her studios and her building to us. For us to record. And Liz is the one that did that. She got Kathy.
Really?
She wore her down.
She wore her down. We had been trying for 3 seasons to get the queen of Radio 1, Kathy Hughes.
And she was an hour and a half interview?
Yeah.
Yes.
These are 30 minutes, and she was three interviews altogether.
Yes.
And one story she told us off mic, which was so interesting, was that she had the creator of Empire in her house who lived with her, and she
Empire. So a lot of people may not know.
Empire, the
Empire's
TV
a great
show.
story about African American music business. The empire they were creating.
right, that was Kathy's story, and she told a great story.
Oh my! She missed out on all that money. She admitted that.
We also had a tree doctor. We had Tyler Balderson,
That's right. The tree hugger.
tree hugger. Yeah,
I don't think you can be a doctor of the trees unless you hug them.
yes.
There's more to trees than just looking at them. And we had so much fun with the people that are new to it. We had sports celebrities, but again, nobody better than Smoot. Was Smoot fabulous? And we're going to talk about some other people, and we'll be right back on Our Town.
Technology Truths, brought to you by Geico. Technology Truths. Truth. You have 14 login passwords, and you can't remember any of them.
Doug 1. Doug 2. Doug is awesome. Doug is awesome 1, 2, 3.
Truth. It's so easy to switch and save on car insurance at geico.com.
Doug is super cool ampersand underscore exclamation point 1985. Knew it.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
This is Attorney Mike Collins. Come to my seminar and I'll explain in plain English all you need to know about wills, trusts, taxes, probate, and how to keep your money in your family. I'll show you how to eliminate those dread death taxes and avoid the expense and delay of probate. See how our Reservoir Trust can protect your family's inheritance from lawsuits and the divorce court. Thousands of your neighbors have already attended. So watch the mail for your special invitation and register now at MikeCollins.com. That's MikeCollins.com.
You're listening to Our Town.
This is Janice Ockershausen, Andy Ockershausen, and Liz Bubis, and we are.
Did you identify yourself as the executive producer of Our Town?
I'm the executive producer. Liz Bubis is our associate producer. Ken's our creative director and technical director, and Andy Ockershausen, our host. Welcome to Our Town.
It's a pleasure to be with you on Our Town. It's a pleasure to be with you anywhere.
Yeah,
Our Town,
thank
the
you.
beach, the sky, whatever it is. It's always a pleasure.
But today we're taking the time to
I want to tell
acknowledge our season 4 guests.
I want to say the surprise of guest that we had that was fabulous is a different kind of human being. His name is Robin Ficker. And Robin has been a gadfly for 30, 40 years and so different. And he's still a politician. He's still doing it. And he does kooky things.
What amazed me about Robin Ficker was his energy level.
Always
he
had
would
a
have
smile.
been such
He just-
a great county executive. He's got so much energy,
And-
so many ideas. He's so persistent.
And he sues so many people.
And he's
when
so
something
smart.
didn't happen, wasn't right, he'd go to court. He'd go to federal court or whatever he'd do at his own pocket to defend the people. That's such an unusual case, I think.
So we salute Robin Ficker.
Absolutely, and Robin, I'll never forget it. So, Lizzie, who was impressed? Who did you impress, Liz? You live in a celebrity world. Your father has been a celebrity. Your mother is the number one celebrity in Georgetown. So you've had a lot of people. Who impressed you?
I was impressed by everybody, but I liked the sports people a lot. I really enjoyed, Steve Buckhantz, and I liked Lou Strudler.
Yeah, about the Caps and what he did.
Just monumental sports overall. I mean, it's so big in DC now. The Wizards are doing so well. The Caps won the Stanley Cup. I mean,
Lizzie, so
we're just, we're having a great year.
You just gave me an idea because we haven't had anybody from the Nats on. We really need to have. Maybe you could start working on that idea.
Yeah.
who?
Somebody from the Nationals.
Nationals.
Baseball for season 5.
Yeah, we had Fred Smoot from the Redskins.
Let's get Bryce Harper.
We had Steve Buckhantz from the Wizards. We had Al Koken from the Capitals, and Lou Strudler just wrapped it all
From
up
everybody.
for us.
Wasn't he great?
Yeah, he just was.
Louis.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
And-
Well, I want to bring an idea to the table for season 5.
Yes, dear.
I want to create a Hall of Fame, an Our Town Hall of Fame. And my inductees for the Hall of Fame, for the very first Hall of Fame, would be Sonny Jurgensen, number 9, Kathy Hughes, and
Radio 1.
Radio 1, and Jim Vance. So that
Channel
would be
4.
that would be my pick
Yeah,
for
149. and one.
for the Our Town Hall of Fame for our
That's a
first
good
one.
start. What am I, chopped liver? I'm not in the Hall of Fame?
It's the Andy Ockershausen Hall of Fame for our town.
No, my Hall of Fame is being married to you.
Right.
One of the things that you did and pointed out was the law enforcement people that we have talked to, and some of them couldn't tell everything, but most of them are just great.
I think some of the best stories, which were told, were off mic. That's always the case.
Always.
Yeah.
Well, you pointed out to me, Liz, that Dana, the Langhorne, called you today to thank you again.
So pleased. It was a highlight of his life that we had
invited
him on.
He was such a non-typical police officer with a great sense of humor.
Oh,
he was so funny.
He was a sheriff, right?
Yes.
He had been a cop, and he became a sheriff of Alexandria. But who else did we have?
We had Mary Gavin. She was great.
She was really something else.
To get a woman of a police officer on, Andy, was a great idea.
She was armed, too. Did you know that?
I saw. How could I have missed
She had an active weapon.
She showed me her belt, all right.
And old Pat Burke, who was an MPD, but retired to run the Association of Chiefs.
Yep.
And how about Secret Service guys that couldn't tell us anything, like Tom Quinn?
That souvenir he gave us.
Yeah, that was neat.
That was neat.
I think Tom Quinn was cool too, because Tom looked exactly like Clint Eastwood, and it was so reminiscent of that movie.
He had boots on too.
Yeah, protecting the president of the United States. So he's very memorable to me. Dave Carpenter was very memorable.
Well, Carpenter told me a story. He was the head of the White House detail. He was number one, taking care of Clinton, and he lived with him for like 8 years as the head of the detail. And they've lost track with each other, but they were with each other. He was more time with Clinton than his wife was. He was stuck to him. But when he retired, he got out of that world. He went to work for Pepsi Cola. But somebody ran into Clinton, and they're talking to him and said he's a friend of Dave Carpenter. And said the president went nuts. Said, "What, Dave? How is he? What's he doing? Where is he? I haven't thought about him." Da, da, da. Clinton was so very familiar with what he meant to Carpenter.
Yeah.
You know, because he saved his life for 8 years.
Yeah.
He didn't save him from Hillary.
Right.
I was calling.
No comment, Ken.
Remember Hillary Howard at WTOP? I was calling her Hillary.
And I think that two women who were just overall, a huge success to have on Our Town were Ishana Smith and Tysley Williams. I know the Junior League is huge in DC and just all over the DMV area. And I think that they're just such powerful, women. And to be African American and really powerful to this day.
Absolutely. It means so much.
And up and coming, girl power.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And brown girl power, and it's so prevalent in our community. You got the mayor, but all these people around her now are getting power because they all should have had it for years. But women are being recognized in D.C. in Our Town
it's wonderful.
for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad to hear from Liz because she is a millennial. Mm-hmm. She talks about it all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm a perennial. See, I ain't going anywhere. That's my plan. This is Andy Ockershouse. We'll be right back with Our Town.
Hi, Tony Sybil here to tell you about Tony and Joe's and Nick's Riverside Grill at Washington Harbor in Georgetown. Spectacular new restaurants. We've spent a lot of time rebuilding. You'll love it. It's really fantastic. For any information, you can go online to tonyandjoes.com. It'll be a wonderful experience for the whole family. Call 202-944-4545 to make reservations. Everything is fabulous. You've got to come down and have some wonderful food.
You're listening to Our Town with Andy Ockershausen. Brought to you by Best Bark Communications.
It's Our Town with Andy Ockershausen, wrapping up Season 4, which reminds me we failed to mention the fabulously talented, wonderful, dear friend Sue Palka. Sue and Joe Palka are very dear friends. They're WML alumni, and she didn't work here, but she should have, and her husband was part of us 30 years ago. So the Palkas are great. Channel 5 has been great. All their people, going way back last year with Ernie Bauer and the people we had that made Channel 5. But Liz, you're a little young to remember those glory days, but there used to be a Powerhouse Sports. It was a local Channel 5. Jenny, who did you forget? Anybody?
Well, I wanted to address Bill Lord. I thought Bill Lord was one of our great
spectacular, another broadcaster.
He wrote a book about Vietnam. He was also a broadcaster. He worked in local TV in Washington, D.C.
And 7.
Yeah. And also wanted to do a special mention to Stephen Portnoy. Stephen Portnoy, I worked with Stephen at WMAL Radio.
He's a dictionary, isn't he?
Oh
catalog.
my gosh, he
knows everything.
He's a radiophile. He loves anything to do with radio. He loves radio history, and he came in and took over.
Yeah, he took over the show.
Yes, he did. He was wonderful. He was so enthusiastic. We were so excited to have him.
How about Chief Manger?
Oh, Chief Tom.
Montgomery County, but he had been chief in Fairfax. So, like, he was our town's chief of all time. He missed D.C. But we had him on, too, the chief of D.C.
We did. He was great.
We've done that.
And you know what? We didn't mention, because we didn't know, I had reached out to Johnny Holiday after the interview, and I said, Johnny, the chief mentioned your name during the interview. And he said, did he mention that he was a great song and dance man?
No.
See, so that's one thing. Maybe we'll have him back so we can talk
Manger,
about
that would be great.
Off-Broadway talent.
Who else do you think of that we're going to have in the future that we've talked about that's future stars, let's say?
Well, I think that we ought to definitely try for Mayor Bowser.
Well, you know, it's been...
With the wharf and its expansion, I mean,
P.F. Hoffman, Monty Hoffman. We've been trying to get Monty.
Trying to get him. I got a contact with him now. I'll get working on that.
We want Joe Theismann.
Absolutely.
We want Larry Hogan.
But Theismann doesn't have much to say.
Oh, that's a joke, right?
He never stops. That's what I'm worried. He'll take over the show.
We want Maury Povich.
I could get the governor if we get near him. Larry would do it for me.
We want your old friend from Panorama, Maury Povich.
Oh, God, yes.
We know somebody who can...
I'll work my strings. I'll get him to D.C.
He's not going to do it unless he's here, but he'll do it if he's in town.
And don't forget Tony Kornheiser, who won't do our podcast because he does a podcast.
No, that's not why.
That makes no sense.
He doesn't think we're big enough for him.
And also, I want to mention to all our town listeners, everybody, we've got thousands and thousands of Our Town listeners.
How many did you say we had? 100,000 likes?
Downloads.
Downloads.
So we have a lot of people that are listening to Our Town. Pat Malone was one of them. He always tells us. Margot Jurgensen is a big fan of ours in Florida. Oh, if anybody has any suggestions,
please feel free to log on to OurTownDC.com. We're on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. Make sure to, get your suggestion. We love feedback. It's always welcome. And we are looking forward to a brand new season 5 with great guests and
interesting topics.
More to come. This is just the beginning.
Yes, you could find us on WTOP.
I mean, even if people, so-called competitors now, support us.
Yep, you can find us on iTunes.
You can't get away from us.
Yeah, Apple iTunes and also WTOP. They have us on their website.
We're also on DCR TV if you want an update on
who's coming,
the weekly guests, and that is always being updated. So keep in touch for season 5. We want to mention one more person who really had a bold story to tell. That was years ago, but you can't forget stuff just because it was years ago. A guest who really had all of us emotional in a podcast, and I know that we wanted to acknowledge him in the most in-depth way because it was such an important topic. Janice, I think you want to take it from here.
Yeah, our good friend John Lyon. We invited John back to the microphones, and we brought him back into the studio. We walked him around and showed him around. We noticed that we all had the same microphones we had all those 20 years ago when he left WMAL. But it was great seeing him.
40 years ago.
Yeah, great seeing John Lyon. We salute you, John. And we're going to go to the Limericks to see him play. He plays once a month at Limericks and in Silver Spring. So we salute you, John Lyon. It was great seeing you.
Yeah, what a wonderful man. And Mary, don't forget Mary. How about Peter Abrams? We welcomed him back to town. Peter was here working, and suddenly he left, and now he came back to run the Business Journal, and he's going to be a big help to us with Our Town. He promised that.
That's right.
So between the two of you guys, you don't need me anymore. So I'm going to say sayonara.
Well,
start season 5.
There is a few people that work behind the scenes, never get mentioned, that I want to say, and that is Rose Kaplan from Next Page Web Design. We also want to thank our dear Ken Hunter. Who's with us during every podcast.
Oh, shucks.
He's the best.
You can thank me by getting Charlize Theron on.
Oh, there you go. Charlize Theron.
Charlize, all right.
Anybody else? Any other impossible dreams?
That's
Wait a minute,
all
don't say-
I can handle. Yeah.
Okay.
There is no impossible dream. Remember that. You know, we impossibly started out without a sponsor and didn't care. We were doing it out of pocket. And thank God we were able to convince Geico how important this was to our town. And Geico is our town because this is the only place their headquarters has ever been. And we thank Geico and all the employees for being our town people. And they're the best. And thank you, Bill, and all of your people. And sorry about Ted, but we don't miss him much anymore anyway. That's Ted Ward. But it's had been a great ride. We started this thing in 2016, riding to the beach in August of 2016. We're coming up on 3 years.
We
It
have
seemed like
over
yesterday
over 180 interviews.
of good people,
Unbelievable.
right?
Great
No
people.
stiffs.
Yep.
We want to thank everybody for listening and tuning in and giving feedback and just following and subscribing to us.
And don't forget to rate and review because that's important to us. The
That's
rating
it.
and review of our podcast.
You know, when I came in, one of our associates and technicians here, engineers, said he just finished reading a transcript of our town. And he finds he has time to read without listening because whatever he's doing, and that we're available on transcript. People can read what we talk about
On our
to
site,
these celebrities. I didn't know that, Lizzie. Thanks
Yeah.
to you. So this has been a wonderful session. We sort of looked back and looked at people, and we've got so many great names coming up that our town will continue to live. And don't forget the parties we're going to have at Tony and Joe's. We get in a plug for Tony and Joe, Liz, because Tony loves that. And we will have our big fifth introduction of our season at Tony and Joe's, I hope.
Yeah.
And invite back everybody we've ever had on.
Mm-hmm.
Janice, you give me the word, and we're not bound to this timetable, please. But this has been wonderful. And last words, Liz?
Tune in to season 5. Thanks for listening, everybody, and have a great 2019.
That says it. How about you, dear?
Ditto.
This has been Andy Ockershausen, and the wrap-up on Season 4 of Our Town.
You've been listening to Our Town Season 4, presented by Geico, our hometown favorite, with your host, Andy Ockershausen. New Our Town episodes are released each Tuesday and Thursday. Drop us a line with your comments or suggestions, see us on Facebook, or visit our website at OurTownDC.com. Our special thanks to Ken Hunter, our technical director, and WMAL Radio in Washington, D.C. And thanks to Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance.